You are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler. This is episode number 265. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Hi, everybody. How are you today, all my dear friends? Well, this is my podcast video day, so not only can you listen to me, but you can see me. And I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm on YouTube. I'm all over the place. So now when I say, hi, everybody, how are you? You can actually see where I am. You can see my beautiful flowers that my husband sent me. It's so good to see you. So this is what I'm thinking about for our episode today. I'm doing a group program right now, my Thinner Peace group program. And it was such a powerful group today that I really wanted to go over with you what happened. And I have a feeling that it's going to really help you a lot too, because you know what? We all got stuff. In the group program, one of the things that I'm talking about is we're talking about how to process emotions. And you know, I've talked to you a lot about that. You know, that sometimes you just got to feel your feelings, and all about the idea of allowing those feelings to be there. So I want to give you the scenario of what happened today with one of my beloved clients and what it was like for the whole group and what it was like for her. So here's the deal. I asked her to come on because she actually sent me an email. So when you're doing a group program for me, you can be involved with me personally by email if you have any questions. So anyway, she wrote me a letter just to let me know that if it was possible that she could be coached today, that she really thinks that she needed it. And of course, you know, when you're in a group program with me, that's what you get. So anyway, her letter basically was that, you know, she had been really losing weight for a while, and she just felt like she's been eating between the twos and she hasn't had a lot of urges, and she's just been doing so great. And then she talked about that yesterday, she just couldn't get enough food into her and she really wanted to look at it. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today, about what happens when you've been doing all the right stuff and you've been feeling really strong and really powerful, and then something happens. So that's what this is all about, because something happened. And the something that happened is what I ended up coaching her on. And I want to explain it to you too. And for all the group participants that were on there, I know it was powerful for them too, because sometimes this is the thing. Sometimes you just have to feel the feelings. There is nothing else that you can do, no matter what else you want to do. So with her, what happened is that she gave me some of the circumstances of what had been going on. And one is that she's a breast cancer survivor. She had breast cancer a couple years ago. And lately she's been having some symptoms in her epigastric area. So she's going in for testing in a week or so. Her doctor thinks that it's a gallbladder problem, but she's going in for testing. She also related to the fact that she's turning 70. And she also talked about the whole idea of that she has all of these thoughts and feelings about turning 70 and this whole thing about this testing that's coming up and what the heck happened yesterday that she started eating. She just doesn't know what happened. So this is what happened. I said to her, well, how are you feeling right now? And she said to me, because we always talk in the group about how we're feeling. And just like I talked to you on the podcast, we talk about how we're feeling from a -10, which is the strongest negative emotion, to a +10, which is the strongest positive emotion. So she said that she was feeling like a +2. And I was kind of curious about that just because she had eaten a lot yesterday and she hadn't stayed on her eating plan. And one of the things that she told me too is that she used to like to drink wine a lot. And one of the things that we talk about in our program is the whole idea of getting to the point of where you can take it or leave it. And so she was talking about like when it comes to wine, she can take it or leave it. She hadn't drinking it in a while. She didn't have any urges. She was really happy about that. But she couldn't understand why she was hungry all day long, that there was nothing that could fill her up. So she was eating a lot more often. She was eating quote unquote fuel food, but could not get enough. And all she really wanted was crackers. Like, can you relate to that? Like just wanting to eat all day long and knowing you're not hungry. So the first thing that we talked about is what's going on. This whole idea that she's getting a test done, this whole idea of what she's making it mean that she's turning 70 and that she's having these physical symptoms. And then on top of it, she did all this eating because then she started talking about maybe she's just going to go backwards. So she had all this stuff going on. So I said, well, how are you feeling about going and getting this test? And then she said that she had had breast cancer a year ago. She added that. I said, how are you feeling about that? So she looks at me because we're seeing each other on video and you're watching me. And she said to me, you know what? I'm really worried. I don't really want to be worried. And I know it'll probably be okay and it's nothing. I said, but how worried are you? And as soon as I asked her how worried she was, you could see the tears starting to well up in her. And so I took her through the process of what it's like to process an emotion because she was worried like at a -6. And my guess is that she was even downplaying that emotion, that I think it was stronger. So all we did is I just asked her to go to where she felt the feeling. And it was in her heart and it was constricted and it was tight. And then she felt it go into her throat and she could barely talk. And then she talked about how she could feel it going into her neck and into her shoulders. Because then she wanted to leave and she says, but, I know nobody's really interested in that. And, it's not that big of a deal. Her mind was saying, don't go there. Don't go there. It's not a big deal. But you could see in her face and you can see in her body that she was there and she didn't want to stay. But I just stayed with her and kept asking her questions about where she was feeling it. And I kept bringing her back to what she was actually feeling without her mind trying to say, you shouldn't feel this. You shouldn't do it in front of everybody. What's everybody thinking? And you should feel more positive. And that's what we did. And as we started talking about it, because see, when you're in a place like that, when you're that worried, when the emotion is that strong, you can't do anything with the thinking, right? Because I was going to do a model with her and see what the model looked like, why she ate. But the thing is the feeling was so overwhelming. Once I brought her and asked her where she was, the feeling was right there. It was there with her. She was trying to leave it. Is that what you do sometimes? Have you ever noticed when you don't want to feel a feeling, when you think that that feeling is either going to overcome you or overwhelm you, or you're going to do something terrible if you feel it? That's where she was. That's what happens sometimes, is that your brain says, you can't handle this. But this is the truth. Really, what she couldn't handle was that she was overeating and didn't know why. But this is what I think was happening and what I started to show her as she started to calm down a little bit, as she started the feeling dissipating, is that that's what she's been feeling and she's been pushing it away. And yesterday, her physical hunger wasn't strong, but her emotional hunger was off the charts and she was just confusing it with physical hunger. That's what we do. When our emotions are really strong, it seems like if we just fill up with food, we'll feel better. We think food is what will help us feel better, and it never is, because she wanted to be coached on why she was overeating, not over this whole thing about the circumstance about this thing that's going on in her body, that she's turning 70, that she had had breast cancer and that she had thought that it was going to be that again, or it was going to be something worse, or that getting older is blah, blah, blah. She had so much stuff whirling around. But the strongest thing was the emotion, and you can't do anything else until that emotion is processed. And as we were going through that, it's so interesting. I started talking to her about it. And then as soon as she told me about that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer a year ago, then the worry turned into full out crying. And that's what we call processing emotion. You can't push it away. You need to let it come through you. It's like a dam that you just don't want to break, that if you don't, it's just going to do more damage. Once she let it through and she started feeling it, I didn't talk. I just let her process it. I let her feel it. I talked to the group about what it's like to actually feel these feelings, because the feeling itself of sadness and worry cannot do anything to you. But overeating and persisting and pushing things that you don't want to feel away can do so much damage. And she could see it. Now, I'll tell you the other interesting thing that happened during this whole thing. And that is that her internet went out. And I'm laughing about that because I also think it's very interesting with electronics that I have noticed with my computer that if I'm really stressed out or something, sometimes my computer goes out. And I think that the emotion was so strong, and you can think whatever you want about this. But for me, I really felt like she needed to process that emotion and that I wasn't the one in charge anymore. And her internet went out. And I know that when that internet went out, she got to have a good cry. I know that. And that's exactly what she needed. And I think from there, she'll be able to see everything in a different light. She'll understand why she ate. It was just emotional hunger. It was strong emotional hunger, strong worry. Sometimes there's no place else to go but to sit with yourself with that worry. And then once you can see what you're thinking, like there's a lot of things that we can work with about the thoughts that are creating the worry for her, that are taking her out of the present moment. But the present moment at that time was the feeling. That's all that was going on. That's what needed to be processed. And, when I've been talking to you about urges in these last few podcasts and talking to you about Pema Chodron, my teacher, who teaches me so much about emotions and discomfort, and that sometimes all you can do is you got to learn how to stay. And that's what she did with me today. She stayed. She wanted to leave, but she stayed. And everybody in the group got to stay with her and watch it. It was powerful. I want this to be powerful for you too, for you to see that sometimes the only thing you need is somebody to hold your hand and hold space for you to feel what you're feeling, if it's crying, whatever it is, and to know that you're going to be okay. Because this is one thing we know. Things change. Emotions change. Thoughts change. Everything changes. In the moment of how bad she was feeling and how worried, my guess is it's gone right now for the moment, and she's feeling something totally different. And probably once she processed those emotions, even without me, she'll be able to see what happened yesterday. She'll be able to think differently about everything that's going on because she let herself feel. And that is what I want to offer you this week. No matter what, give yourself the opportunity and the space to feel what you're feeling. If you notice that you have a day where you're wanting to eat a lot when you know that you're not hungry, that is called emotional hunger. Darling, sweetheart, what's going on? What do you need? That's what you got to ask yourself. You got to give yourself some space to know what's going on. I'm here for you. I was there for her, and I'm teaching her how to do it for herself. And I'm teaching everybody in my group how to do it for themselves. It is a practice. If you've been practicing running away from these emotions, if you've been practicing using food so that you don't have to feel these emotions, then it's new and it needs practice. So that's what I want you to do this week. I've talked a lot to you about physical hunger scale and emotional hunger scale. If you notice you're eating and you know you're not hungry, it's emotions. How strong is the urge, or how strong is the feeling? For her, yesterday, it was like a dam that broke. And instead of processing the emotion, she used food instead. But today she processed the emotion, and food won't come into the equation right now. She's got this. And that's what I told her. You've got this. And I've got you. And I've got you too. So listen, go to my show notes, drdebbutler.com/265. And you can read all about this again, because sometimes reading it and seeing all the points that I'm talking about is so much better when you read it. And also, if you've never gotten my podcast companion guide, all the notes that I use for all of these podcasts, you can get that too by going to the show notes, drdebbutler.com/265. And listen, a new group will be opening up probably in the next 6 to 7 weeks. And if it's something that you're interested in doing, then get on the wait list, because anybody that's on the wait list, you'll be the first to hear about it and the first to get in and sign up for it. And if you want to be like my client was today, to be able to learn how to process, there is no better place than in a group filled with people who are supporting you and holding space for you. So as always, you know what I'm going to tell you, because I tell you this every single week. No matter where else you go and no matter what else you do, please, please, please be very kind to yourself, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye. If you've been following my podcast and you're loving all the tools that I teach you, but you're just not sure that you can do it or apply it by yourself, then please go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. And you can find out if the program that I do and the coaching that I do will help you get to where you want to be, to learn all the tools that I teach and be able to make it a part of your life. Just go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. You can set up a free 30-minute mini session.